We have a quorum of the board. All the board members are back from lunch. We're going to go ahead and get started on the agenda again. We're starting with agenda item 21, the Education Committee report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, President. And the Education Committee has met several times since the last board meeting. There's a number of things that have happened. One, the Education Subcommittee, along with the staff, particularly the NECs, have been data collecting in response to the mandate we received to review practice, the scope of practice for LVNs as well as PTs. And we really want to thank those of you in the audience and your colleagues who've been attending those. It's been very informative, and we hope that when we have the second round of such meetings, you will again come or send your colleagues, owners, students, and licensees to talk with us. Just a reminder for those who are saying, and what is that about? We want to make sure that as we look at the work of practitioners 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that the scope of practice, in other words, what is it we're including in the curriculum for the preparation of licensees, will make them able to do the work of what will be needed that much in the future. So we really do need your input. And by the way, if there are any clinical supervisors or those that are directors of the clinical spaces where you send students, because they're the ones that see patients a lot. And we don't know what the practice might demand come 2027. You know, that's only 10 years from now. Okay. There will be two other sessions, one in Northern California and another one in Southern California. And we're going to do our utmost to see that both dates get posted prominently on the board's website, because a lot of folks said they couldn't find them. So we want to make sure you're there. The main role of the Education Committee is additionally includes the hearing of schools and their review, and from subsequently that review making recommendations to this board. So without further ado, are there representatives from Northwest College here? Yes. If you please come forth. And the NEC, if you have comments, please, about this school.
Northwest College, West Covina Vocational Nursing Program is presented to the board, originally to the Education Committee for consideration of placement on provisional approval. There was a June 1st on-site visit, and during that on-site visit, we found 6 violations. To date, 1 violation has been fixed.
Excuse me, Ms. Faye, can you speak into the microphone so we could hear, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I said there was 6 original violations. 1 has been identified and fixed. They have since this week, past week, sent in additional documents. I've not had the opportunity to go through those documents. I believe Monday or Tuesday they sent them to me. My recommendation was to place Northwest College, West Covina on provisional status for a 2-year period from August 25th, 17 to August 31st, 19. Place the program on August 2019 board agenda for reconsideration of provisional approval. Rescind the program's ongoing admissions of 3 full-time class of 45 students a year immediately. Require the program to obtain full board approval prior to admission of each class. Require the program to provide no less than 1 instructor for every 10 students in clinical experience. Require the program to submit documentation to correct all the violations by September 15th, 2017, and require the director to submit a follow-up report in 10 months, but no later than June 1st, 2018, and in 22 months, no later than June 1st, 2019. The report must include a comprehensive analysis of the program, specific actions taken to revise with revisions to improve pass rates, timeliness for implementation, and the effect of employed interventions, and the following elements must be addressed.
Thank you. And the members of the subcommittee voted to accept the recommendation of the NEC. The other member of the subcommittee is present, Kenneth Maxey.
Yes, I have.
Okay. And so if the school has comments, please.
Can I ask a question to the NEC?
Please.
Faye, I see that you said there was some documents that came in recently.
They gave me some more, they gave me an original set of documents, which I went through before the report was written to go to the Education Committee, and then they have now since given me a second set of documents, which has not been gone through. That was given to me on Monday or
Okay,
Tuesday.
and just quickly, I don't need the whole explanation. There was a problem with assigning students to a clinical site not approved for clinical rotations in pediatric nursing. We know peds OBGYN are a problem, but
Talking to the mic.
they must have them, even though it's hard to get. Has that been correct? As far as you know, has that been correct?
That's part of the documents that they've submitted to me this week.
Okay.
Are there other questions, board members? Thank you for your patience. Yes, please.
Hi, members of the board. It's I'm very glad to be here today. Our director of nursing had a vacation plan last year with his family, and he asked me to appear. My name's Mitchell First, and I'm the president of the college. Some of you may not know is that our college is 50 years old, and was actually founded in 1966, before I was born, and it was founded by my mother, Marcia. And so we have been training allied health professionals for more than a half a century, and we have a long history of training nurses, and have been doing so for the last 13 years. Even more recently, we've even started an RN program that we're also proud of. And so this is somewhat unfamiliar kind of territory for us to have a program that Faye is talking about on being placed on provisional. I just want to assure the board that obviously we're working on all aspects of that report very seriously, and we're working on it feverishly. And board member James Perez, we have not only acquired more PEDS sites, but we have brought online some OB and PEDS sites that are awesome, and we're going to be sending Faye even additional approvals for the County of Los Angeles. We have OB and PEDS now for Martin Luther King and even Harbor UCLA, as well as others. So we're very happy about that. We're doing many things in our nursing program that you may be interested to know currently. One of the things, in addition to those new sites for OB and PEDS, but we're also having 2 different aspects of simulation. So more recently, our college has had built a mobile nursing simulation laboratory, where we're going to be having high-fidelity simulation, including OB and PEDS, available to all of our nursing students in the coming months. And that mobile nursing laboratory will also be available to our clinical partners as well, as the students learn on site at those facilities. In addition, we've also allocated monies to have OB and PEDS simulation even on ground. So we're creating 2 different environments for simulation for our VN students. And gosh, we'd love for you to see those aspects of simulation that we're building, and especially our mobile lab. We believe that our mobile simulation lab is going to be the only one of its kind west of the Mississippi. We've been working on it for more than 2 years, and we've written a press release about it that we'd also like to forward to all of you. So many things that we're doing to continuously improve our nursing programs. And like I said, we've been training health professionals for over 50 years, and we're very proud of our long history of educating, caring, and competent and safe nurses who will take and pass boards. Thank you for allowing me to share these few comments with you today.
Thank you. To the nursing education consultant, you had mentioned having received one thing that did affect, well, it created some change. Does that-
Originally, the first violation was about admission policy, and he did, the director of nursing, before he left, did send me the revised admission policy. So I do have that, and that corrected violation 1. Violation 2 through 6 are still outstanding, one of which is of grave concern, is that they were granted a one-time class, and then they replaced that one-time class. And so they have an extra admission that they were not approved for. As well as, if you look at the NCLEX rates, the last quarter, for the first quarter of this year, they were just at regulatory minimum of -10, and for the 5 quarters prior to that, they were below -10 at this school.
So I think you've already answered my question without me asking, but so everyone knows what the question was, did that information at all change your recommendation?
My recommendations stay the same. Right
Thank
now,
you.
one of the 6 is corrected.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Because it will be the committee's recommendation to the board that they accept the report of the NEC.
I just have a couple questions for the representatives here. And I agree with you that I do believe Northwest College in West Covina is even quite a landmark on the 10 freeway as you drive down the 10 freeway, and been a part of the community for many years. I believe that is true. Did I hear you say correctly that you've never been on provisional before? Has West Covina?
Yeah, to my knowledge,
West Covina has 5 campuses plus Glendale Career College, and currently one of their other campuses is on provisional and the others are
But
not.
not West Covina has it.
Not West
So
Covina,
this
but
is
one
the
of their
first
other
time.
campuses.
And then I was listening with great interest about your mobile lab that you created. The simulation that's done in the mobile lab, is that part of your clinical training, or is that a supplement to the current clinical hours?
Yeah, thank you for the question. What we're preparing now is we're preparing, simulation scenarios and what Faye would need to potentially approve those simulation hours. So, we're using simulation, hopefully, once and if approved, as part of those hours. But as I shared, we're also just so pleased with so many other OB and PED sites that we've been able to develop.
Great, thank you.
Could I also comment that, excuse me, I'm Dolores Tricas, the ADON at West Covina campus. Anyways, our pass rates, we have worked very hard. I became ADON in the late fall of last year. And as a team, because really this school works as a total team, we have implemented a lot of changes. And even if I had to change instructors, because I think that's also very key. And in a very short period of time, our pass rate reflected it. The first quarter was 85%, or about almost 87%. And the second quarter of this year, I believe, is 91%. So I feel we've made great progress. We're not nearly done. There is a whole lot more work to do. As you know, nursing programs are nonstop. You do not become comfortable, and we are far from uncomfortable. So I am asking on the recommendations, if I may, just give me a sec, please. On this June 8th recommendation, on the page 3 of 3, it does list the 5 violations, and then at a later date, the 6th violation regarding pass rates for the last 8 quarters was added in at a later date. So I'm reading one with the 5 violations. It does say, with violation number 5 below that, be advised that the continuation of such violations jeopardizes your program's continued approval. So these violations have been corrected. And so when my chief nursing officer, and he's also the director, he returns, we will go over more things with Faye regarding these violations. And I am asking on the school's behalf that we not be placed on the provisional accreditation because she came out in June. The second quarter pass rates, we didn't have access, but they were already out. We have done just so much, and it takes time. And we're asking for, Northwest College is asking for the help of the board for us to continue in the right direction. I have fabulous instructors, and we also tie in the clinical instructors. They know what they need to be doing that correlates with theory. We're tying the whole thing together. We go through all the latest research, show you the evidence, how to run these programs, and I think it's really showing that the great stride in a very short period of time, how things have flipped around for us. And we're also progressing, as Mr. First said, our president. We take it very serious, what's going on. And for example, the violation with the clinical site, we are implementing the simulation lab. We do have a committee that looks for clinical sites, as Mr. First indicated. I know we don't have them, but it hasn't been approved, excuse me. They're not approved, but, one has. Well, I'm talking about Martin Luther King, okay. But yes, we have 2 hospitals since then and some other OB sites as well and pediatric sites. So we're taking it very serious, and I'm asking for us not to this far out from, if you look at the past history and how short we changed in less than half a year, we dramatically changed that. Please give us more time and not place us on provisional. Because I can go through one by the violations. For example, when Faye came out and she wanted the student files of one cohort, well, some of them were being audited, so they were in a certain department. So a person by the name of Brooke Allen came, she's with the education, and she brought them to Faye, but then Faye said, I've seen enough. So I don't know if there was just a misunderstanding there that we hadn't brought them, but she did. She did bring them to you, Faye. And so that violation. And number 1, the PAC score. Adnan did admit at the education committee he made a mistake, and he should have notified the board of the change because the NLN had changed. Yes, he should have. He made that mistake, but to put us on provisional for that is very, very harsh, I feel.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
There were 6 violations. You are explaining what happened in one case, and it is our understanding with the staff that 1 has been removed, but there is not evidence yet for the others that remain. If we're hearing you correctly, you have submitted documentation that would address the violations that
Yes.
are yet to be removed, and until that time, the board doesn't have any further evidence of the violations being corrected. We do need the concrete evidence, and we look to the staff to help us evaluate that.
Then can I ask if this can come back at the next meeting coming up, the next hearing,
Yeah.
board hearing,
Absolutely.
and postpone this for now?
Well,
For now.
I have something to
Hold
say.
on, Samantha has something to say.
I hear your concerns, and I do agree with you that in the past a couple months, the January through March variance from annual average pass rate was -10. That is an improvement on what it has been, so in that much I agree with you. However, I'm just speaking for myself. My concern is that I'm looking back since July 2015, and I see -15, -21, -17, -31, -21, -19. It is -10 now, you are correct.
Yes.
But we have a long history of unacceptable pass rates. And while I can see that you've made a lot of improvement in a little time, that doesn't discount the long period of time of the out of compliance with the annual pass rate. So this has been brewing for a while, I guess is what I'm saying. And while I agree with you that you are making progress, I can see the improvement. For me, I have to also consider the length of the problem.
And I do understand that, but I'm asking the board to consider that this violation was added sometime just June, in other words, several weeks ago. And in the meantime, we did show great improvement. So there had been quite some time that passed before. Now we're being put on provisional because of these pass rates at this period of time when maybe it's something that should have been done a while back. Why now when I'm really concerned for a lot of different reasons, and it has to do with our students, of course. The bottom line is our students. And I know you understand what with the students. California is challenged, and we know that. We understand it.
And Ms. Anderson, what I would like maybe just briefly is, I know there's a process to putting someone on provisional. It's not just 1 quarter of bad pass rates, right? We don't move to provisional that quickly. It's a history of pass rates, so it has to kind of build up.
That's correct. It's a history of violations. And as Board Member James Perez has said, your first low quarter was back in July, actually quarter 3, 2015. That's 2 years ago. And at that point, the consultants work with every school. We notify you when your pass rates are down and attempt to get you to make some changes to address whatever the problems are. We send a series of 4 letters. That was our past practice before we would bring the program to the board. That doesn't say that the program hasn't been notified. That doesn't say that the program should not have been making some changes to address whatever the deficiencies are that are resulting in your low pass rates. But the program did not do that, which is why we, at this point, had 7 quarters. But in addition to those 7 quarters of non-compliant pass rates, there were other violations that were identified. As Ms. James Perez has said, while you may be making improvements now, we need to see sustained improvement that results in students being able to pass the exam.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
The last thing I just wanted to share is that I failed to acknowledge the rest of our nursing administration that was here. And so not only is Dolores here and Nicole, but many other from our college. Can you guys wave?
Wow.
So just wanted to acknowledge them. Thank you all.
Thank you. Any other questions from the board?
Seeing none. So we have a motion, a recommendation from the Education Committee to accept the NEC's recommendations. Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, any public comment?
Good afternoon to the entire board and also the NECs. I am Arvella Baddick, and I work with this organization for another campus. So I just want to allude to a little bit of Cheryl's comment when she say that the school hasn't been doing anything. As you know, when you implement new changes and resources, as you indicated in 2015, we actually changed all of our resources from the NLM because we felt that the NLM was not moving to help our students with new innovative ways that will help them beyond graduation, that will also sustain for them to work at home and give them that support. So what our president didn't tell you is that everything that Evolve has that can help our students, he bought, okay, in 2015. And it took not only 2015, but also 2016 to get our faculty well equipped to use that and give the students what they need. So we were implementing, and we took out that portion, which also goes to the PACs as well, because the PACs for the NLN changed themselves, which actually gave us more poor quality students. So then therefore we had to then change our recommendation of what we were bringing in. And so that's why probably Mr. Adnan didn't let Faye know, or I think Jessica at the time, because of that. So the NLN changed their version, which affected us. Now, all of the resources that we're using, the case studies, the Evolve Sims, as well as the new NCLEX Online, all of this is now what you're seeing, as Dolores is indicating, the results of the pass rates that are just now showing effect. So it has taken a little while because the resources were already into place, but you have to also make sure that all of the cohorts are using them at the same time, and it took a while to get everybody there, and now we're seeing these effects. So it's not in my doubt that we're maximizing all of the resources and will continue to rise. We did make changes in 2015, but you're seeing them now. So the changes that you're seeing is not just now coming to fact because we were there. But I think, as Dolores indicated, the number 6 was not on the original finding. It was only 1 through 5. Number 6 was there. So if it was also a concern of our pass rates, not that we wasn't notified, the effective changes that we see today are been in the works, and we'll continue to have them in the works. Not only have we added NCLEX coordinators that are working at every campus to help us, our students are having boot camps as well. So it's a lot of changes that we have made, which also we went back and revised one of our IPs to align and coordinate with what also the NCSBN blueprint is. So the changes were coming. Unfortunately, they did not show that increased pass rate until just now. So I think those additional resources that we have implemented will continue to see our pass rates improve, with always faculty retention and making sure we're taking them from part-time to full-time, which plays an important aspect. So it's just not what you're seeing now. So I just want to make sure that you are aware of that, and you're not saying that it's just you're seeing this now. We made changes in 2015, but it just took a little while to get here. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further comment? Seeing none, we have a motion.
Just a point for clarification. It looks like there's an... Oh, I'm sorry. Just a point for clarification. It appears that the motion has an addition here from the committee, but it looks identical to number 7, which was the NEC's recommendation. Can you tell me the difference? It looks the same to me.
It is the same.
Okay, so we're just adopting the NEC's recommendation?
That is correct.
So we have any further discussion by the board? Seeing none, we'll take a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Alita.
Yes.
We have unanimous, motion carries. So I'll turn it back over to Bernice for the second school.
Thank you.
Want to thank you.
Thank you. The next is Summit Career College in Anaheim. Are there representatives here? And if the NEC will give us a little background, please?
Summit Career College, Anaheim Vocational Nursing Program is presented to the Educational Committee and now to the board for placement on provisional due to non-compliance with regulatory compliance. For the last
Excuse me,
eight,
Faye, can you speak into the mic so we
for the
can-
last 8 quarters,
hear?
they've been
Thank
below
you.
the 10% required NCLEX. The school is now contemplating moving their school to a different location into Santa Ana. And so they were originally considering closing the school, but they have decided not to, since they now want to move their school to Santa Ana, and because of the NCLEX pass rates. My recommendation was to place Summit Career College Anaheim, soon to be Santa Ana, on provisional approval for 2-year period, August 25th, 17 through August 31st, 2019. Place the program on August 19 board agenda. Require the program to complete a total revision of the curriculum in accordance with the recommendations specified in California Code Section 2533 prior to the commencement at the new address. Require the program to obtain full board approval prior to admission of each class. Require the program to provide no less than 1 instructor to 10 students in clinical experience. Require the director to submit documentation sustaining that the adequate resources, faculty, facilities are available to support each admitted student, and require the director to follow up a report in 10 months, but no later than June 1st, 2018, and in 22 months, no later than June 1st, 2019. The report must include a comprehensive analysis of the program, specific actions taken with revisions to improve pass rates, timeliness for implementation, and effects of employed interventions, and the following elements will be included.
Thank you. And the committee is recommending to the board to accept the recommendation from the NEC. May we recognize the school?
I just have one comment for Faye. So in the report here, it says that you recommended for 1 year from August 25th, 2017 through August 31, 2018.
Originally, my recommendation was for 1 year. The school at the education meeting had requested 2 years because they feel by the time they get the curriculum revised, they get the new school up and running, they didn't want to be coming back before they had a group of students who would be able to test and prove to the board that the new curriculum would be effective. So it was mutually agreed upon by the NEC and the school representatives to change it to 2 years. And I did note that on number 2, it says to place on the May 19 agenda, and that should actually be the August 19 agenda. I said August 19 when I read it, because I noticed that that was a typo.
Question, are you saying this is something, an agreement that you made after the committee report?
No, at the actual education committee, they had requested 2 years versus 1. My
The
original
August
report.
versus May?
No, because it says August, their certificate will be done in August 31st of 19, and then originally it was going to be, I think, May of 18, but then when we extended the extra year, we didn't change it to August of 19, because if their accreditation or certification is up in August of 19, they need to be put on the board meeting of August of 19.
May
The
of
question is, do you want a 1 year or 2 year provision?
We had agreed upon, and I saw the school shaking heads, 2 years.
So
Right.
your recommendations is 2 years.
I changed my recommendation at the
So-
education meeting to 2 years as
Yeah.
we
So
collaborated.
you need to, the motion needs to be amended.
seeing the typo, the agreement was, and I'm also looking at a colleague from the board, from the committee meeting, the agreement in the discussion and the vote at the committee meeting was for 2 years. Is that
Correct.
your recollection?
That's what we agreed on after the meeting, yes.
Yes. And you see, it was 2
It
years?
was 2 years.
Yeah. So there is something not right in the printed, and you understood it was 2 years.
Yes. Correct.
And so we are affirming, yes, it is 2 years, and because what you have in print does not reflect that, we are saying it is amended, and so our recommendation and the motion is amended accordingly.
Do you need a second on that? I've seconded.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Samantha, you have questions?
I do. First, I'd just like to thank you for your honesty. We don't very often have schools that say we need more time, please give us 2 years instead of 1. So I think that's very professional and goes far to say about your character. So, but what I'm looking at here is not matching what I'm looking at the thing. So this is Summit Anaheim, but you have another campus in the Inland Empire. Colton. So this isn't the Colton site so this is a completely different site. That's correct. Okay. And again, I mean, we can look at what the past rates were and see, I won't read them out loud. But I think you guys are off to a good start. I know that you have other colleges that you've worked hard through, so. Okay. So I just wanted to clarify what school we're talking about, and thank you.
So we'll introduce ourselves if that's okay. Renee Sheehan, Director of Nursing.
And talk right into the mic.
So she's Renee Sheehan, Director of Nursing, and I'm Dr. Crystal Nacio, the Academic Dean, and Mr. James Perez is correct. We have been here for Colton years ago, a few years back. This campus had a time frame where we were not enrolling students, and we were getting through a revision in policy, a relook at our faculty, and a revision to our curriculum at current. And so we purposely took a pause on that campus.
You have to continue to talk into the
We purposely took a pause on that campus as a decided group to figure out where we were going to go with this campus, and worked very strategically with Ms. Silverman and Ms. Anderson on all these things. So we appreciate that. And just for the record, we agree with the board's recommendation.
Thank you. So any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote with the recommendation from the Education Committee with the amended changes to a 2-year approval, August 25th through August 31 of 2019, and to place the program on the August of 19 board agenda. So we'll start with a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Samantha?
Yes?
Kenneth?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And Alita?
Yes.
It was unanimous, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to the agenda item 22, and that's going to be agenda item 22A. It's the acceptance of voluntary closure of program on provisional approval, Technology Training Institute Vocational Nursing Program.
Madam President, may I be
Yes?
recused?
Okay, thank you. Going out the door? No. Oh, okay. So the board has received and accepted your report from Ms. Faye Silverman, NEC. Thank you. Do any other board members have any questions for the NEC?
I do. So, Ms. Silverman, right? I see Ms. Gomez's signature on the paper, so. I signed them all. Okay. So I'm looking through this quickly. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that there was actually a complaint about the school that spurred this site visit?
Originally, there was a complaint, there was a site visit, and then last board meeting, the board put them on provisional. And then between the last board meeting and when the material that they were supposed to submit me to correct the violations were due, they submitted a letter that the director of nursing had resigned and that they were closing their VN program.
Now, please refresh my memory. The complaint was that some students hadn't graduated because
The
of lack.
complaint was they started an unofficial class. They started a class without permission from the Board of Nursing.
Okay.
So those students are no longer at the campus, and those students have been dispersed to other schools.
Oh, they have. That was my concern, was that there were students out there that were in limbo.
There's no students at the school.
Okay, thanks.
Any further board comments or questions to the NECs? Seeing none, is there any representative from Technology Training Institute Vocational Nursing Program here? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
I move to accept the report.
I'll second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. And is there any further discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl's abstained. Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion carries. It was unanimous. I'm good with it. So that brings us to 22B. Did we tell Cheryl? Oh, thank you. So that brings us to 22B, reconsideration of provisional approval and/or consideration of a request to admit students. We're at 22B1, Advanced Medical School of Nursing, Pittsburgh Vocational Nursing Program. And it's, I want to thank Jessica for her report. We've received it and reviewed it. Do any of the board members have questions regarding the report to the NEC? Seeing none, is there a representative for Advanced Medical School of Nursing, Pittsburgh Vocational Nursing Program present?
May I make some comments, please?
Yes?
Okay. Initially, I had requested for revocation or recommended
Jessica.
revocation. Initially, I had recommended revocation for them. I don't know if you see the addendum that went with it, but since the initial visit that we did another visit on July 5th. At the time we made the visit on July 5th, none of the violations had been corrected, and they still at that time did not have a director. Since that time, they have appointed a director, and she has been board approved, and they have now corrected 5 of the violations out of the 15. Some of the biggest violations that were there have been corrected. One being they have made up their clinical and theory hours. Another is that they have now the resources. One of the issues was that they did not have a bathroom that was available for the schools, for the students. It is now, they have 3. They have done repairs to the building. I've seen photos of even the holes in the ceiling that have been corrected. They now have a full library, their computer lab is there, their skills lab is well-stocked, and they just recently, this week, they hired 2 new instructors, so they have the full number of instructors that they needed to have. So their resources are there now. The student that did not have his diploma, they do now have the diploma from that student. He was a student that graduated out of the country, and he does have his diploma now. They have the clinical sites, and they have the director now. So my recommendation has changed from revocation to the recommendations that you will see here, which is giving them another 3 months to work on the rest of the 10 outstanding violations that they still have.
I have a question for you, Jessica.
Yes, ma'am.
Since you brought it up, I remember reading this report, and if you look at the last webcast, I was very seriously concerned about the facilities at this location, that they might even be dangerous or unsafe.
Yes.
You've said now that, I mean, the bathroom had no door, or the door's broken, there was no soap, there was, I mean, it's pretty bad.
Right.
You're saying you're sure these have been corrected?
Yes, I am.
You said you received photographs?
I went on July 5th, and I saw the bathroom door. It was corrected. There was soap, there was tissue, there was everything in the bathroom that needed to be done. There were 3 bathrooms at that time. Since then, I've seen photos of the ceiling that's been repaired. When we were there, we saw the supplies in the office. They hadn't been put in. They had just received them that day. Since then, I have gotten photos of them being placed in the skills lab.
Okay. And there was something about, correct me if I'm wrong, but there either being, was there mold or moldy something?
No, I don't remember
Okay.
mold.
I'm wrong then. But there was a lot of, it was an old school, yes?
It still is an old school. It was
Or not an
it
old,
was
but
a
a previous
preschool.
school. Previous school.
Yes, it was a preschool previously.
So I think your recommendation is generous. So I guess I just want to confirm with you that you're completely confident that the school is safe, and equipped and for students.
I believe that the school is equipped and that it is safe. I would recommend 3 months for them to get it out and let me make another evaluation, another site visit.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion from board members?
I have a question. Is 3 months sufficient time, or would it be more useful, from your professional opinion, that it be in time for our first meeting in 2018?
That makes sense to me.
May I make a comment? Given the extent of violations, it seems that bringing them back in November may be the wiser choice of action, so that you can see what progress has been made and what hasn't. You can still extend them if you'd like in November to February. But on the other hand, if the violations have not been corrected, and if you so desire, you could render a different decision in November.
Thank you. Any further?
Thank you.
Any further board discussion? Seeing none, are there any representatives from Advanced Medical School of Nursing Pittsburgh, Vocational Nursing Program? And if we could have you state your name and professional title, please? And please talk into the mic so that everybody can hear.
Dr. Eichmann, Administrator.
Thank you.
Melissa Gove, Acting Director of Nursing.
Okay. Do you accept the NEC's recommendation? Do you disagree with them?
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, which,
You agree with them?
The NEC's recommendation.
Okay. Any questions from the board for the school?
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. When we read the report last time, you guys weren't here, so we weren't able to ask you questions. But I want to ask you, how did it get like this? I mean, when Ms. Gomez came out on her first time, how did the facility come to be in such a state of disrepair?
I was brought on in, Dr. Eichmann called me around the end of February, and I said, you're going to need to talk to the board about your issues to see if I can even help you. And he did that, and we met with the board, and then we met with you. So it was my understanding that the previous person that was to be the director was not following through on most of these items, and I've been brought in to take a look at them. Some of them have been corrected. The one for the 7 days notification for the director of nursing, I did send in a plan. Jessica was concerned that it was so long from the old director and the owner to notify her that she wants more time, and I would agree with that. And then we brought some other corrections today also.
And as far as your instructors, your teachers that are teaching with you, in the original report on page 6, it said Ms. Gomez had interviewed an instructor and was asked if she had access to the program instructional plans and lesson plans, and she said no, that she'd never been given those. Have the teachers been provided?
Those have all been provided. That instructor was a substitute. The instructors that were hired originally were all orientated and signed off. This was one isolated instructor, and since then, we've completed it with all the other instructors coming on.
Great. And I guess this was the same instructor that said she didn't know whether the students were in term 2 or term 3?
No, this is a different instructor. The instructor that didn't know if they were in term 2 or term 3, I do not believe is teaching for them anymore.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was a substitute filling in, a nurse practitioner.
Yeah, because it would be hard to understand how an instructor wouldn't know what term their students are in.
We were concerned about that comment.
Yeah, obviously. Then this one, the last one, it says, the instructor was asked about the student's progression and documentation of student ability to complete clinical and lab skills. The instructor responded she had never seen the student skill sheets, check-off sheets, and had never evaluated or documented student abilities in completing labs. So that's really serious, because that's the check-off to know that you're safe, right?
Right.
That you're a safe practitioner. So has that been fixed?
Was that Anna?
Yes, that was
That was the substitute nurse practitioner. And actually, we went back and we verified she signed off quite a few lab skills, which she had been teaching there prior. Maybe she could not recall them. We were able to verify them. We went through and redid all the skills labs, and they were completed. They were brought up to date. They were brought up to date on their testing. And we have a very tenured teacher, Shirley Love. She's very tenured. I'm the tenured teacher and director of nursing, and the students are really doing well.
Great. I'm glad to hear it. When did you become director of nursing?
July 17th.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the students, if they're performing their skills, they have to be evaluated on those skills, correct? And it's really important that there's some documentation that they have passed a skill, because they're going to go take their board exam and then have real patients. So it's a safety issue. I'm sure you understand.
I understand that, and we brought them all up. They're all up to date.
Okay.
They've been checked off. And, we continue to have skills practice time available to them and study time. We are really giving them a lot of extra time we feel that they need to make them successful.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Ken?
So in regards to your location, I know Pittsburgh is a growing area in regards to population-wise. Where are most of your students coming from? Where are most of your students coming from? Like what geographic area?
Typically around that area, Pittsburgh, Brentwood, Concord, and Antioch, mostly that area.
And which hospitals or which clinics do they usually end up working for in that area?
Right now, we went to Windsor Manor in Concord. We have,
They've gone to Bellicon Nursing Facility in Oakland. They've gone to Windsor and Concord. They've gone to Windsor and Vallejo. They have a lot of great rotations for peds and OB at Pittsburgh Healthcare, and they're willing to take them for some med-surg hours. Term 4 will not work this time, but they would take them if it would work for our students. And then we've also have the other sites. There was one site that was upset with a nurse practitioner, and when we since have contacted them and mended fences. I actually done site visits on all the med-surg sites. All the facilities I have, Jessica, have been evaluated during and after the students were there by the students and staff and myself. And so I've looked at all the med-surg facilities, and I do have to go to the preschool facilities, which I have seen before because they were out on summer break.
Thank you.
I do want to comment, it's kind of cute. So the police officers, they know we're there because they talked to Jessica when she was out there. Yeah, and so they come by and they come in and look at our simulation lab, and they know they're there. They park there, and they're very nice to us. They keep an eye on us.
We did receive that report. We did receive the report that Ms. Gomez was greeted by a police officer upon arriving.
And if I may ask, the area is very safe. There's no cause for concern at all. And I would have started with this to thank the board actually for giving us another chance and to apologize for not being at the last meeting. You know, it was just a mix-up on our scheduling. I don't know how that happened. I still can't believe it happened, but it was not on purpose. So I do apologize to the board for that and for giving us another opportunity to come and talk to you today, because when we missed a meeting that we're supposed to attend to talk about our school, I'm glad you didn't shut us down that time for not showing up. So thank you very much for giving us another chance to come and explain this to you.
Thank Ms. Gomez. That's her recommendation.
Of course, she's been awesome. She's been awesome working with us. She's done great, and our special thanks to you, Ms. Gomez, for working with us.
Thank you. Any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, do we have a motion?
So I move to accept the NEC recommendation.
Second.
Wait a minute, and how much time is that going to include? 3 months?
3 months. And they'll be back on the calendar in November.
And I do have 3 additional corrections to submit to her today.
Okay. Any further discussion by board? Seeing none, any comments by the public? Seeing none, the motion was made by Samantha and second by Bernice to accept the NEC's recommendations. We'll do a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes?
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
And that was unanimous. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. Highly appreciate it.
Our deepest gratitude, thank you.
So that brings us to 22B2, Carrington, hold on. 22B2, Carrington College San Jose Vocational Nursing Program. Reconsideration of provisional approval. Thank you, Jessica. We've received your report and have reviewed it. Do any board members have questions for Jessica?
There's a typo on the recommendations. The typo is that the class would start on January the 2nd, 2017.
Speak into the mic.
There's a typo on the recommendations. The recommendation number 2 says that the class would start on January 2nd, 2017. It should be 18.
January 2nd, 2018, and graduate December 14, 2018?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a representative from Carrington College San Jose Vocational Nursing Program here? If we could have you state your title and your name?
Good afternoon. I'm Barbara Hall, the Senior Dean of Nursing for Carrington College. Good afternoon, board members. My name is Janice Montgomery, and I'm the Dean of Nursing.
Thank you. And do you accept the NEC's recommendation? Or
Yes, we accept the NEC's recommendation.
do board members have any questions for the school? Seeing none? Any public comment? Seeing none, may I have a motion?
I move to accept the recommendation.
Alita, you second?
I will second it.
Any further comment or discussion by board? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote to accept the NEC's recommendation with the amendment of the date. And we'll start with a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And Alita?
Yes.
And the motion carries. It was unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you from me as well.
Okay, that brings us to 22B3, Hacienda La Puente Adult Education Psychiatric Technician Program, reconsideration of provisional approval. Thank you, Faye. We've received and reviewed the report. Do any of the board members have any questions for Faye? Seeing none, is there a representative from Hacienda La Puente Adult Education Psychiatric Program?
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Suzanne Zemer. I am the Director of the Psychiatric Technician Program from Hacienda La Puente.
Do you agree, disagree?
Yes, I agree.
And do any of the board members have any questions for the school?
Just a curious question. We are considering you starting a class beginning the 5th of September.
Correct.
Which is days from now.
Yes?
Are there students?
Yes, this summer for the first time, we just completed a pre-class. And as provisional of the students potentially coming into the 5th of September course, they had to participate in this 100-hour course. And so we just completed that course with 10 candidates for the class on the 5th.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions by board members?
I can see that, looking at your statistics here, that things have been improving somewhat.
Yes.
What do you attribute that to?
I think one thing that happened a few years before I became director is we had 2 programs concurrently, and we had a lot of faculty that came through and a lot of upheaval within the department. We have one program that we focus on. We've worked on curriculum opportunities. I think our clinical sites provide awesome opportunities for our students. We're doing, we raised our TAPE scores as well. So I think those are things that started to get us back on track.
Beth, there was a curriculum change then?
It's me.
I'm sorry, Faye.
It's Faye.
And not while I've been in the NEC.
Right.
I think it was
Prior
prior
to
to
my
me.
coming on board.
Okay, and when, I'm sorry, ma'am, when did you become the director?
I think it was August of last year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any further questions for the school? Seeing none, can we have a motion?
I move to accept the recommendation of the NEC.
Cheryl Turner, seconds.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have further comment? Seeing none, public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote on the motion to accept the NEC's recommendation. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Faye.
That brings us to 22. Yeah, I almost got rid of B4, sorry. 22B4, High Desert Medical College Vocational Nursing Program. Thank you, Jessica, for the report and the recommendation. We've reviewed it and received it. Do any of the board members have questions for Jessica?
Just one. I see that number one is approve the High Desert Medical College VN program for a 4-year term. Does that mean they would not be on provisional anymore?
That means that they would not be on provisional anymore.
So you'd be back to full approval?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the NEC from board members? Seeing none, is there a representative from High Desert Medical College Vocational Nursing Program? If we could have you state your name and title?
Good afternoon, Dr. Michelle Welch. I'm the Director of Nursing at High Desert Medical College.
Thank you. And do you accept the recommendation from our NECs?
Yes, I do.
Do any of the board members have any questions for the school?
I just want to make a comment, because I remember when you guys originally came before us in 2015, the NEC recommendation at that time was to revoke, if you remember. It was the very first board meeting I went to, and I believe you were there and your colleague back there, sitting back there, was also there. The initial recommendation was to revoke, and the board actually gave you another chance. The vote at that time was not unanimous, and I actually voted against you. I voted for you to be revoked. I didn't think you could turn it around, so what I want to say is congratulations, you proved me wrong, and you may not hear that in this, again, in this board meeting. It's never been said before. but I wanted to put that out there, because at the 2 years ago, I voted against you, and you proved me wrong, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do I need it, Donna?
I just wanted to second what my fellow board member said. Having seen you repeatedly over the last couple of years, congratulations to turning your school around and having pass rates above the standard.
Thank you.
Any other board members? I do want to thank you. You've done a good job coming here. You've been on provisional a while, and I do echo what Samantha says. It's great to see that. Do I have a motion from somebody?
I'll make a motion to accept the NEC recommendation.
Second.
Any further discussion by the board? Seeing none, any public comment? Seeing none, the motion on the floor by Samantha and second by Bernice is to accept the NEC's recommendation. We'll do a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Ken?
Yes.
Sorry, Samantha.
Yes.
Samantha? Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
I just want to.
Motion carries. It was unanimous.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you very much to the board members, and thank you so much to Jessica. She has been very helpful and very responsive, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
It is. It's very possible. So that brings us to 22B5, Platt College Vocational Nursing Program. Reconsideration of provisional approval. Thank you, Faye, for your report. We've received it and have reviewed it. Do any board members have any questions for Faye?
Just quickly, I believe it's the same thing, Faye, right? This board would now no longer be on provisional?
Correct. I'm asking to remove them
Full
from
approval.
for full approval.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other board members have questions?
Okay,
Seeing none?
no longer on provisional, but still required to have permission or your approval to admit additional classes?
Correct. So they don't have ongoing admissions, but they're off of provisional.
Thank you. Is there a representative from Platt College of Vocational Nursing Program here? If you could state your name and speak into the mic, thank you.
My name is Dr. Rosemary Higgins.
And do you?
And I am the director for the program.
And do you accept the NEC's recommendation?
Absolutely.
Okay, do any board members have questions for this school?
I just want to say congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And now I realize why you were in a good mood in the elevator coming up this morning. You were pretty happy this morning, and now I see why. So, but congratulations on the hard work that was put into this.
Any other board member comments or questions for the school? Seeing none, do I have
I move, Cheryl Turner moves to accept the NEC's report.
I second it.
So there's a motion and a second. Do any board members have further comments or questions, discussions? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, the motion from Cheryl and second by Bernice is to accept the NEC's recommendations. And we're going to do a roll call vote, starting with Donna.
Yes, congratulations.
John,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Bernice,
Yes.
myself is yes, Samantha,
Yes, congratulations.
Ken,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Alita.
Yes.
Thank you. The vote was unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
You've done a great job. So that brings us to St. Joseph's College of Nursing Vocational Nursing Program for reconsideration of provisional approval. Faye, the board members have received your report and reviewed it. Do any of the board members have any questions regarding the report? Donna?
So this school has no students currently, correct?
Correct.
And the recommendation is to revoke their approval
Correct.
and close the school.
Correct.
Any other comments from board members? Seeing none, is there a representative from St. Joseph's School of Nursing Vocational Nursing Program present? Seeing none. Do board members have any further questions? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I move to accept the NEC's recommendation.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second to accept the NEC's recommendation. Do board members have any further discussion? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote on the motion to accept the NEC's recommendations. Donna?
Yes?
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
The motion carries. Thank you. So that brings us to 22C1, Angeles College of Vocational Nursing Program, consideration of request to admit students. Thank you, Faye. We've received your report and reviewed it. Do any of the board members have questions for the NEC? Bernice?
I just want to make sure I'm reading this right. I've looked at the chart, and at this time, the program's average annual pass rate
It's +8.
is as, just want to make sure I'm seeing what I'm seeing.
Correct. They're +8.
Thank you. Thank you. That's a good thing.
That's a wonderful thing.
Yes. Do we have a representative from Angeles College of Vocational Nursing Program present?
Good afternoon. I'm Mary McHugh, the Director of Nursing.
Okay, and do you agree with NEC's recommendations?
We do agree.
Do any board members have any questions for the school?
I just have to say, I wanted the validation and then to validate you. Those scores look good.
Thank you so much, and thank you, Faye, and thank you, Jessica. Everybody has been a team to help us so much.
If you don't mind, very briefly, because I think it might help others, are there at least two things you can say that you recommend that worked for you, that made that kind of change?
Well, first, let me say this is the 7th school I've taken in trouble and gotten pass rates up. The keys are, obviously, you have to admit qualified students. Second, you have to maintain standards, so there has to be rigor in the program. And as several of my colleagues have mentioned today, here in California, that may mean that some students have to retake a course. And we've had several students who couldn't pass one of the terms, and for many of them, English is not their first language, and that is quite a challenge. And they've come back and retaken it. But I have to say the biggest key has been use and full integration of all the ATI supports. And well, I can't think of a more powerful tool to help not only recent graduates, but remote graduates from passing NCLEX than the virtual ATI tutor program. I have never had a student who passed that program and tested within a month or two fail the NCLEX. And frankly, I've never had a student who failed the ATI virtual tutor pass the NCLEX. So it's a very powerful tool. But a lot of it is integrating. They have the most, my students are doing really well in pharm. We use Pharmacology Made Easy. I know there's a lot of argument about high-stakes testing in the world. And when people say no school should do high-stakes testing, I say to them, we know from much research in psychology that if you practice taking a certain type of test, you will do better on that test, even if you don't know anything about the content. And one psych study took a bunch of non-engineering psychology students and gave them a series of engineering school tests with feedback. And the students, even though they didn't know anything about engineering, got better and better. Given that research, do you really want the first high-stakes test your students ever face to be the one that counts?
No.
So that's my philosophy.
Thank you.
Do any board members have further questions for the school? Can I get a motion?
I move to accept the recommendations of the NEC.
I'll second.
So there's a motion and a second to accept NEC's recommendation. Do board members have further discussion? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. The motion is to accept the NEC's recommendation. We'll start with Donna.
Yes.
John.
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Bernice.
Yes?
Myself is yes. Samantha.
Yes?
Ken.
Yes.
Cheryl.
Yes.
Alita.
Yes.
Thank you.
all.
Motion carries.
Thank the board and thank our wonderful NECs.
Always.
So we're at did I miss one? I was gonna say, I'm a little confused here now. 22C2, Angeles Institute Vocational Nursing Program. Reconsideration of provisional approval. Thank you, Beth. We've received and reviewed the report. Do any of the board members have any questions for the NEC? Seeing none, is there a representative from Angeles Institute of Vocational Nursing Program present?
Good afternoon. I'm going to bring it closer just in case.
Thank you. Turn it up so you can talk right into
I know I'm tall, aren't I?
And do you?
I agree.
You agree?
Yes,
Thank you. Do any of the board members have any questions for the school? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I move to accept the NEC's recommendation.
Second.
So there's a motion and a second to accept the NEC's recommendation. Is there further discussion by board members? Seeing none. Any comments from the public? Seeing none. We're going to do a roll call vote. The motion on the floor is to accept the NEC's recommendations. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. It was unanimous.
Thank you.
That brings us to 22C3, Career Care Institute Ventura Vocational Nursing Program, consideration of request to admit students. Thank you, Faye. We've received and reviewed your report.
There is a correction on page 4. It says on January 5th, 2007, and that should have read 2017.
Oh, yeah, I think that might have. Okay. Do board members have any questions for the NEC? Seeing none, is there a representative from Career Care Institute Ventura Vocational Nursing Program? If we could have you state your title and speak into the microphone.
Good afternoon, Board. Good afternoon, NECs. Linda Malik-Jones, Director of Nursing for Ventura and Lancaster.
And do you accept the NEC's recommendation?
I do accept.
Thank you. Do any of the board members have questions for the school? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I move to accept the NEC's recommendation.
Cheryl Turner, second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the NEC's recommendation. Is there further discussion by board? Seeing none, is there public comment? Seeing none. The motion on the floor, we'll do a roll call vote, is to accept the NEC's recommendation. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries. The vote was unanimous.
Thank you to the Board for your support, and thank you to Faye and Jessica for all your help. Thank you.
Thank you. That brings us to agenda item 22C4. Thank you, Jessica. We've received and reviewed the report. Do any of our board members have any questions for Jessica? Seeing none, is there a representative from Healthcare Career Center Vocational Nursing Program?
I'm Tina Turpening, Director of Nursing.
And do you agree with the NEC's recommendations?
Yes, we just want to request to move the start to September 18th rather than Monday.
Yeah. Oh, so you want to move the start date from August 28th to?
September 18th.
When would be the graduation date?
The same. We had,
How is that
yeah.
possible?
Because we have vacations built in between our terms, so we have a little bit of play. So we have like 14 weeks and then a week, and then 14 weeks and then a week.
Can you talk directly into the mic?
Sorry, we have breaks built in, we have vacations built into the program so that the students get a week off in between each term. So because we already have that built in for the holidays and whatnot, then we have the flexibility to do that.
Okay. Do any other board members have questions for the school?
I just have a quick question. I'm just looking at your quarterly pass rates, and they seem to be, I guess for lack of a better word, a bit bipolar. No, I mean,
well, thank you.
Okay, I should use better. But we get 100, whoa, yay, 25, 150, 180. So how can we level this out?
Okay,
What
I
are your
can only
plans?
speak to it from October.
Okay.
I took over the program in October, and so there were many issues identified that I've been working with Jessica on. So I would probably say bipolar is a good explanation. My goal is to keep the ones that I currently have, which are 90, 100, 80.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, so I don't have an answer from before then.
Okay.
I don't.
When were you, when did you become the director?
November 1st.
Okay. And since you started November 1st, what would you say the greatest change has been to your program?
We've completely overhauled the curriculum. We do a completely face-to-face NCLEX review. We do one-on-one tutoring with the students. We do a prereq course prior to the time that they start. And this start that we're delaying, we're going to be giving the students their textbooks early with their homework assignments and teaching them how to prepare for class and how to come to class and start the program prepared. So we've changed text so that they have more online resources that are geared towards adult learning population. We have purchased the MedCom streaming videos to give them a visual, but it also, instead of having something that we purchase, they have access to it as well, so they can watch it 32 times if they want. So in answer to your question, I've completely overhauled the whole place, and Jessica can attest to that.
No, sounds great. Thank you for the information.
Just a follow-up with that, you've talked about resources, materials, et cetera. How has that affected instructors?
Well, we only have one cohort, and so we have, this one will be the second cohort. So in terms of what way? It's benefiting them in terms of they have resources in the classroom that they didn't have before, but also we can guide students to use alternative resources for studying rather than just read the book. But what's your question? I'm not sure I understand.
Well, oftentimes when we get new resources that students use, not necessarily are faculty or instructors prepared to use them. And so have you done something in terms of preparing the instructors so that they can work with those materials and make references to students so it becomes the most optimum?
Yeah, we have one-on-one training with faculty because
Thank you.
nursing doesn't change very well. But I also have brought on new faculty for various reasons. So I actually only have one faculty from when I got there. So a lot of the faculty came in under the pretense that that was the expectation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions for the school from board members?
One other little thing. I'm looking at material that you're going to deliver, according to the report, September 15th.
The mannequin.
You're still comfortable with that date, even though delaying the start of the class?
September 15th being?
It's the names of the students.
It requires that the program director submit under penalty of perjury, the names of all enrolled students, date of admission, placement in the curriculum, and expected graduation date?
I'm going to have all that by the 15th, yes. We
Just
already
wanted to make
have,
sure.
yeah, we already have well, there's 27 potential students, and we can take 20 with 2 on the wait, so.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion by board?
Now, what's the start date once again?
September 18th of 2017.
Yes, thank you.
So the point is that's 3 days before the start. I just want to make sure.
Yeah, I'll have that off, yeah. I actually have all the names right now, potentially.
I have a different sort of question. It seems that you're going to have a lot of students. How many students do you have now?
17. I have 17 and then a class of graduates. I only have 17 existing students.
Okay. So if you have 17 students currently, these proposed, they're going to take you up to a total of 155?
Huh?
No, I will have 22 plus 17, I'll have 39.
That's why, that's what's confusing to me, is maybe I'm not reading this chart correct, but.
That's how many have been enrolled in the program total.
At the top of page 2.
Donna, which chart?
I think
Is
it's
it
the
further in
enrollment
the
table,
packet?
but she's looking at the
Oh, I'm
total.
looking at this one.
Wrong school. It was with the binder clip on it.
Oh, good.
Because I was like,
Okay, good.
No, I'll have 39.
I was like, this doesn't make any sense to me. Okay.
now does it?
It does now, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion by board? Seeing none, can I get a motion somewhere in there?
I'll move to accept the NEC's report with the amended start date of September 18th, 2017 for the admission date on the students.
And the graduation.
Graduation's going to be the same. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second to accept the NEC's recommendation with the start date of September 18th, 2017. Any further discussion by board? Seeing none. Any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote for the motion on the floor to accept the NEC's recommendation with the amendment of the start date to September 18th, 2017. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Now it's this good.
So that brings us to 22C5, Homestead School Vocational Nursing Program, reconsideration of provisional approval. Oh, no, I'm in the wrong one. Consideration to request and admit students, sorry. Thank you, Margarita. We've received your report and reviewed it. Do board members have any questions for Margarita?
I'd like to also clarify the report, because I think it might have been a little confusing. In February, they were placed on provisional because of the violations. In May of 2016, it was extended, though they had corrected 4 of the violations and had plans to correct the other 5. It was extended to May of 2018. Since that time, not only did they correct all the violations, but they also revised their policies. They also, in February 2017, were approved their major curriculum revision. Since that time, all the reports that have been required, including the enrollment tables and the information on the candidates for admission, have been received. They have been working very closely in providing, like I approved 3 additional instructors. They had the instructors that would be required for the class they were considering, but she also updated her clinical information to include those instructors. Their state board passings for the last 10 quarters, annual, have been, with the exception of 1, within the guidelines, including one time that they were 16 percentage points above the annual. And due to the commitment, I recommend that 1 full-time day class, 1 full-time evening class be approved for admission. I did deny the one that they were requesting to replace the graduation class in July due to the fact that only 1 student had taken the state boards for the students that graduated in March and in June, in order to give them sufficient time to work with those and to see the next quarter report of the NCLEX. So those are my recommendations.
Thank you. Is there a representative from Homestead Schools Incorporated Vocational Nursing Program here?
Good afternoon. My name is Adele Blanco. I'm the Director of Nursing, and this time I have somebody with me.
I'm George Dairit. I'm the Admissions Director.
Thank you. Do you agree with the NEC's recommendations?
Yes, we accept the NEC's recommendation.
Thank you. Do any...
Excuse me. We do agree with the written report because she mentioned evening. She approved the part-time instead of the evening.
Okay. Oh, you want it's a part-time evening?
Part-time
Full-time?
Full-time evening is not approved. The part-time weekend is approved.
Does that change your recommendation?
Let me see what it was. I had approved admitting 1 full-time day class for 24 and 1 full-time part-time, but you wanted evening, not day?
No, part-time is correct, but you mentioned it was the evening that you were approving.
He wants daytime.
No, I did approve the part-time day class.
Yes.
What I did not approve is the full-time evening class. So the recommendations are correct.
Excuse me, Ms. Valdez, you did not approve, you recommended the approval of those classes?
I mean, I recommended, thank you for the correction. I recommended, yes. It was the full-time evening class that I recommended.
Which is what you want.
No, they wanted the way it sits. They were confused.
Yes.
They were
The way it
confused.
sits right now is that's what we want.
What's in writing?
What's in writing, yes.
Let's go with that.
The one in writing is full-time day class, she approved, and then 1 part-time day class, she approved.
Right.
Okay. Which is what you want.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm reading the recommendation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the school from board members?
So now that I have the right school, I apologize to the other school for that. It seems like you have a lot of students, or you're potentially going to have a lot of students, but you don't have a lot of students that test.
Go ahead.
Okay, we do have a lot of students right now, but 2 of those classes right now are part-time, so it takes them about 2 years to finish. And we do expect about 15 to 20 students to be taking their NCLEX within this 3rd and 4th quarter.
Okay. So that'll even itself out?
Yes.
Okay. Because it just looked a little odd to me. I was like, God, they get so many students and hardly anybody tests.
Yes.
Any other questions from board members to the school?
I just have a point of clarification here. Yeah, point of clarification. Are we taking out one of these part-time classes then? Oh, okay. Oh, okay, got it.
Got it?
66, that's what I thought.
Thank you.
Okay. So you found it, John?
Yes,
Thank you. Do we have a motion?
I move to accept the NEC recommendation.
I second that.
Any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, the recommendation on, or the motion on the floor is to accept the recommendation from the NEC, and we'll do a roll call vote, starting with Donna.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries.
I want to thank the NEC. They did a good job doing the director forum yesterday, and whatever, it made it clear to me that I am actively administering my program. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So that brings us to agenda item 22C6, Medical Allied Career. Again? Medical Allied Career Center Vocational Nursing Program, consideration of request to admit students. Thank you, Beth. We've received your report and reviewed it. Do any of the board members have any questions for Beth? Seeing none, is there a representative from Medical Allied Career Center Vocational Nursing Program?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Alfie Ignacio, the director of the VN program.
Madam President, is it too late to ask Ms. DeYoung a question?
No.
I just got on the right page. I was just looking through the report, and maybe you can help me understand your thinking. Yeah, this college is currently on provisional, yes?
Yes.
But then, I mean, when I look at the pass rates, per se, the program annual pass rate is 86, 91, 94, 93, 89, and we could go farther. So obviously, your pass rates are stellar. In your report, it says they have adequate faculty and clinical sites, including OBGYN, yes? Help me understand why we have them on provisional?
The program started a class without board approval back in December 2016.
One class?
For this provisional approval, it was one class, but they've had prior incidences of starting a class without board approval 2 times prior to that third one.
And they were put on provisional for 2 years?
That's correct.
Okay. I do see here that you have a lot going for you, though, as well.
Do board members have any questions for the school?
Well, I agree with the recommendations of the NEC.
Thank you.
Well, just an observation. I just want to make sure that we now understand that all future classes will only occur after approval.
Yes, ma'am. There was a miscommunication as well with the start dates, and so we are very aware that for every class it has to be approved before
Thank
we
you.
start.
Thank you. Any further questions from board members? Seeing none, can I get a motion?
I move that we accept the NEC's report or recommendations.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and a second to accept the NEC's recommendation. Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we're going to do a roll call vote on the the motion to accept the recommendations from the NEC. We'll start with Donna.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to 22C7, West Coast Ultrasound Institute, Beverly Hills Vocational Nursing Program, consideration to admit, a request to admit students. Thank you, Beth. We've got the report and reviewed it. Do any of the board members have any questions for Ms. Beth? Seeing none, is there a representative from West Coast Ultrasound Institute, Beverly Hills? If you could state your name and speak into the mic.
Okay, Dr. Hani Nashed, I am the Director of Nursing at Beverly Hills campus and the Ontario campus.
And do you accept the NEC's recommendations?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. Do any board members have questions for the school?
No, other than to say, it certainly seems like you've turned this around with your pass rates steadily going up, so congratulations.
Ever since I started actually in April 2016, I worked hard so that...
Speak into the mic, please. Thank you.
Ever since I started my work in Beverly Hills, April 2016, I'm doing my best actually to pump up the result, and now we are achieving 100% for 3 or 4 quarters.
Yes, you are doing very well, steadily going.
Thank you.
I do see I just noticed what you just said. The last 3 quarters, you've had 100% pass rate.
Yeah.
Wow, congratulations.
Thank you.
Do board members have any further questions for the school? Seeing none, can
I make a motion?
Ken?
To accept.
Second.
So there's a motion on the floor from Ken to accept the NEC's recommendation and seconded by Bernice. Is there any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, is there any public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote on the motion to accept the NEC's recommendation. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
Alita?
Yes.
Thank you. The vote was unanimous. Motion carries.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Do you want to stand up for a few minutes? So one of the board, actually the board vice president has requested to take a stand-up break. So we'll take a break for 10 minutes.
I'm going to get in trouble again.
Okay. We're on agenda item 23, the executive. We're on agenda item 23, the executive officer's report on decisions for vocational nursing and psychiatric technicians programs. So we just need to.
Madam President, you have a 26-page report in front of you that details decisions that have been rendered in reference to VN and Psych Tech programs from May 16th through July 28th. They're submitted to you for ratification.
Okay, thank you. Do board members have any questions on it?
Report, the entire report?
Seeing none,
Make a motion that we approve this report?
I second.
any further discussion by board members? Seeing none, do we have public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. We'll start with John,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Bernice,
Yes.
myself is yes, Samantha,
Yes.
Ken,
Yes.
Cheryl,
Yes.
Alita,
Yes.
and Donna was out of the room when we did this, so Donna is not. Motion carries. It was unanimous with the Donna not present. That brings us to agenda item 24, Executive Officer's Report. Okay, Cheryl?
I'm fine. The first part of the report deals with the Education Division. In terms of total programs, total VN programs, 150. Total psychiatric technician programs, 14, for a grand total of 164 programs. That includes approved, pre-approved, as well as provisionally approved. Now, in terms of the number of proposed programs, there has been a huge spike. We are now up, at the time I finished this report, we were up to 18 proposed programs. That includes 17 VN and 1 Psych Tech. Now, I can tell you that after the report was finished, we've received additional proposed programs. So what's happening is we're beginning to get a lot of proposals or applications submitted for proposed programs. So you will begin to see the numbers spike again. Of the total programs that are currently approved, are pre-approved, are provisionally approved, 58.54% are proprietary, 28.05% are community college-based programs, 3.05% are based in regional occupational centers, and the remaining 10.37% are based in adult schools. Of the total approved programs, 91.11% are VN and 8.89 are PT. Of the total VN and PT programs, 85.98% are approved or pre-approved. The remaining 14.02% are on provisional approval. Now, of the total that are on provisional approval, 91.3% are VN. The remaining 8.7% are PT programs. Now, in terms of the pass rate statistics, and you've heard a lot of the discussion previously in terms of the regulatory requirement, the current requirement in reg was added per amendment in 2000. Of the total VN programs, 96% or 144% are approved or provisionally approved by the board. The remaining 4% of VN programs are pre-approved. So now in terms of the statistical significance of what we've been talking about, for the approved programs, based on published exam statistics for Q2, the quarter pass rate for first-time candidates from approved VN programs is 73.22%. The average annual pass rate for approved VN programs is 77.98%. For provisionally approved programs, effective May 15th, the number of VN programs on provisional approval totaled 21. Based on Q2 statistics, the quarter pass rate for programs on provisional approval was 71.53%, while the average annual pass rate is 67.62%. Now, the next basis of comparison is the comparison to the national average, and the data in the report compares statistics from 2012 through 2017, California to the national average. California average for quarter two of all programs, 73.07%. The average annual for first-time California programs approved and provisionally approved, 76.99%. By comparison, the national pass rate for candidates who completed the NCLEX during quarter two, 82.63%. The national average for first-time candidates during quarter two, 83.79%. So you'll see there's roughly a 10 percentage difference in pass rates each quarter. In terms of the psych tech programs, 100% of the programs are approved or provisionally approved. And as we've said before, there are 2 that are on provisional approval. Based on published exam stats for quarter two, the quarter pass rate for approved or pre-approved PT programs is 70.97%. The average annual pass rate for those programs, 76.41% for provisionally approved programs. The quarter pass rate, 0%. Now, what that means is that there were not candidates tested during that time. Okay. For the average annual pass rate for the same period, 68.18%. Pass rates for approved and provisionally approved programs for the quarter, 69.29%. The average annual pass rate for PT programs, first time, 75.95%. And again, we have the same statistical comparison. The difference is we're not comparing it to a national exam because there are not national statistics for PT programs. So from California, 2012, the percent of candidates passed, 80.72%. 2017, meaning the first 2 quarters, 72.83%. The remainder of the report details the areas that consultants and in the education division function. In terms of program complaints, the division received 5 complaints from programs, each of which were investigated, some of which resulted in issues that have been brought before you. Others are problems that we were able to resolve. In terms of program requests, from May 1st through August 1, the division processed 43 major requests from VN and PT programs, including program approvals, major curriculum revisions, approval to admit students, to alter class size, and other critical program elements. From May 1st through August 1st, the division processed 179 requests for approval of new faculty and 108 requests for approval of new clinical facilities for existing and proposed VN and PT programs. In terms of program inspections, from May 1st through August 1st of 2017, the division completed an inspection of 15 programs, on-site inspections 11, program record surveys 4. Of the 21 programs that are on provisional approval, the division has completed on-site inspections of 80.95%. Of the 2 provisionally approved PT programs, an on-site inspection has been conducted for 50% of the programs, or 1. To facilitate resolution of programmatic issues, the division staff holds meetings on-site, as well as teleconference, as well as traveling to data gathering sessions. From May 1st through August 1st, the division has conducted 61 meetings and teleconferences with representatives. Correspondence. 1,000 from the same period, and my apologies to you, the report says February 1 through May of 2017. That data is actually for May 1st through August 1st. The division has received 1,885 inquiries per email, fax, U.S. Postal Service, and FedEx. Of the total received, 1,502 required a response. Written responses totaled 638. Telephone responses totaled 864. And I've already reviewed the information in terms of the proposed programs. We have a total of 18 now awaiting analysis. In addition to that, we have 10 that have been reviewed, feedback given to the submitting entity, and revisions are in progress.
Thank you, Cheryl.
May I ask a question of Ms. Anderson? So on page 4 of your report, it's talking about the PT programs, and under D, it says the statistical comparison of exam pass rates for all, so statewide PT programs,
Correct.
2012 to 2017. And if you read that kind of from bottom to top, we're sliding in the wrong direction.
That's correct.
Any thoughts or insight as to potential causes?
There are a number of things I would suspect. First of all, historically, there have been problems with PT programs maintaining current curriculum.
Okay.
As you know, the analysis of professional practice is completed every 5 to 7 years. Based upon that, exams change. That way, the exam must reflect current practice. At that point, programs have a responsibility to go through their curriculum to ensure that it's consistent, that it is preparing individuals for current professional practice. The education division staff meets with programs. We even have developed a document for them to analyze their curriculum and submit whatever changes that have been made. Very frequently, we'll find that programs will sign saying, oh yes, everything is fine, and then the data shows that something is inconsistent. So it's a matter of going back and meeting with those individual programs to insist that they make those corrections. And that's part of the reason that we have our consultant staff there, and we are two other positions that we're pulling for. But they are very frequently out doing on-site visits. Some are announced, some are unannounced. We'll find programs that will say, don't do unannounced visits, we only, let us know when you're coming.
Oh, no.
No, we do not do that.
No.
And as we uncover, factors that contribute to that, then we bring them to them.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. That really has happened. We've had programs that say, no, don't come unless you tell us.
So Cheryl, I have a question also. It might seem like a simple question, but what is a pre-approved program?
A program that at that point, they've submitted a full proposal, meaning they've developed a curriculum that meets all the basic criteria for admission. It has the content, it has we have sufficient faculty that have been approved, sufficient clinical facilities, all of those things that are spelled out in 2526 are the comparable regulation for PT. Pre-approved programs have not graduated their initial class, so you're not going to have exams data for it.
Okay. So they will move into an approved program once that's happened?
That's correct.
Okay, all right.
So we're at 24B.
It's Brian.
Good afternoon, members of the board. At this time, I please ask you to reference Exhibit 24.B.
Can actually pull it up.
just uncomfortably
Or
hunch
hold it
over.
up.
Too
You
tall.
know what, it will probably take it out of, will it come out?
Can you hear me now? Testing.
Thank you.
At this time, I please ask you to reference Exhibit 24.B for the enforcement report, along with the overview table. The enforcement report shows 6 fiscal quarters since the implementation and inception of BREEZE. Over the previous 6 quarters, there has been a decrease in the number of completed cases. As Mr. Frank and Mr. Whitley stated, there's been some work on prematurely closed cases that I'll delve more into. I do anticipate at the next board meeting that there will be an increase in cases closed, specifically cases referred to the AG, as well as investigations assigned to the DOI. The Enforcement Division has been reviewing prematurely closed cases. Specifically, non-sworn unit has closed 49 cases with a notice of warning. Out of those 49 cases, 30 were deemed closed appropriate, 19 were reopened for re-review by the non-sworn investigation staff. 110 cases were prematurely closed at intake. 18 were referred to DOI, 22 were given to non-sworn staff, and 70 were closed appropriately. The biggest priority for the Enforcement Division is to revamp its efforts to analyze and improve processes, as well as ensure internal controls are instilled and installed to ensure that this will never happen again. The Enforcement Division continues to work in collaboration with DOI, the Enforcement Monitor, Mr. Frank, and the Attorney General's office. I've met with all parties to discuss partnerships and expectations and working for a future collaboration. In addition, we're working with similar healthcare boards with similar workflows to kind of see what their processes are and to see what's working, what's not working, kind of open that forum. In addition, we're working with the Office of Information Services to validate and provide integrity to board stats. I know the Enforcement Monitor has stated there's been some inconsistent figures within BREEZE, so we're looking to mitigate and correct those. In terms of vacancies, the management team is nearing full staff. A complaints manager was hired in August, and I will start the interview process for the special supervising investigator when I get back. That's my first priority. In the meantime, I've been working very closely with the non-sworn investigation staff in conjunction with DOI to ensure optimal work processes. I also wanted to use this forum to recognize Enforcement Division's rank and file staff, as well as the management team, who have been working tirelessly to move us in a forward direction. The board's Enforcement Monitor, Mr. Frank, also wanted to extend his recognition to all of board staff in helping him with his findings. That concludes the enforcement report. Open to questions.
Thank you. Do board members have any questions?
No, but a comment. I just want to thank Mr. Vu for his tireless work and Mr. Frank as well.
Into the mic.
Could you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And, you know, look, the information that you and Mr. Frank have shared today is troubling, and yet at the same time, I'm very confident with you at the helm that we are going to do some great things together to move this forward. So I'm counting on you and your team, and of course the advice of Mr. Frank, and of course the colleague that I have here to my left, to ensure that we are moving forward and get this stuff rectified pretty soon, okay?
Thank you, Board Member Maxey.
Thank you.
Any further questions from board members? Amen. Thank you.
Thank you all.
So we're at 24C.
This will have to come way down.
Just before we move to this item, was there a staffing piece, part of the enforcement update?
Yes.
In terms of staff, I've updated in terms of management vacancies. For staff, there's a 24% vacancy rate, I think up 4 or 5% from the last time the boards met. One of the major foundations in terms of our management and leadership philosophy is to put an emphasis on recruitment and retention. We're working right away with HR support services. Once we learn of a vacancy or potential vacancy, we're going to try to post right away. At the same time, sitting with staff one-on-one to find out what fulfills staff, how to challenge them and motivate them to ensure longevity within the board. So that's a high number currently. We do hope for it to decrease by the next time the board reconvenes, but that is a focus of ours, and it will be addressed.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
The other issue that does impact staffing is there are staff that are being promoted. And as those staff are promoted, then we're filling in behind them, but that does create a temporary vacancy.
Thank you. Come on, Jen.
We're shorter, so we're going to lower the mic.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Rochelle Johnson, the Licensing Division Manager, and I'll be going over the Licensing Division staffing report. New staff and/or vacancies. Since the last board meeting, the Licensing Division has filled one vacancy in office technician in the cashiering unit. Currently, the division has 4 vacancies. Office technician cashier, which is a limited term position, an office services supervisor 3. The incumbent is currently on a training and development assignment. And then we have 2 associate government program analyst vacancies. The licensing division is making every effort to fill out vacancies as quickly as possible. Breeze updates. Staff are more comfortable with the Breeze system. Majority of the processes within the Breeze system have been identified with first drafts of procedures written. The board continues to communicate with staff and consumers to identify inefficiencies. System investigation reports to update the Breeze system are submitted to the department for review and addressed and processed in a priority order. And the table that is at the bottom is 1 through 7 with the SIRS, which is the system investigation request, and then to the right is telling you where it kind of is. So on items 1 through 7, 3 has been completed, 4 has been completed, 5 was removed, and then 7 is completed. So we still have a couple that are outstanding.
And I would just like to add that this grid was reported to you at the last board meeting in May. So Rochelle is basically just showing you the status update on that. So you have got this previously.
Then on to the committee updates. All committees have met twice since the last board meeting. The licensing committee, administrative committee, and evaluations committee. The dates are there listed on the forms that you have, but all committees will meet again during the next quarter and prior to the next board meeting. The dates have been scheduled throughout the rest of the year.
For the licensing committee, we have scheduled out through December 2017. So when we get back, I'll follow up and make sure that the chair committees did see that calendar invite, and we'll, for the rest of them, they will be scheduled accordingly.
And then we're going down to our support services unit, and I just want to apologize for how the grids are because they're not showing the grid lines on the prints. But for the reception and front counter staff, the wait times and amount of calls dropped continues to be a challenge. In an effort to address the wait times and increase the amount of calls handled and resolved, the board is working to provide additional training to the front counter reception staff, addressing the types of questions which should be answered by them and calls which should be addressed by other personnel within the board. And I am going to go over the average mainline wait times. This is on page 3 of 9, where because the grid lines aren't there and you can't see the actual colors, but the top line where you see the 9269, those are total calls to the board, and the months are below, the April, May, and June. And then the middle line are the calls offered, so the calls that they've actually responded to. And then the bottom lines are calls abandoned. Those are ones that fall out after long wait times or the hours of operation close. And so the next chart is the number of licensees, applicants assisted at the front counter, and those are the numbers for April, May, and June 2017. Those are people who actually come into the board. So to date, the board has responded to all BB&T email inquiries within 2 to 3 business days.
Did you find, okay, so that was related to the calling system, and we found that it was not necessarily the system, but it was a staffing issue, was the reason for the initial problems we were having with answering the phone calls?
Yes, so we had discussed before that at the last board meeting, and Rochelle wasn't there, so I just want to kind of just speak up on it. We were looking into perhaps a better phone system and checking different quotes and what we have and what we don't have. And in doing so, there were some stats that were pulled, and the current phone system that we have now allow us to have additional more phone lines. So currently with the staffing that we're working with right now, like I said, some numbers came out, and Rochelle immediately started working with staff on identifying training issues. Maybe, for example, spending too much time on the phone or entering the breeze notes. This report was able to identify how long each caller receptionist takes. So that was done just last month. So I think as of right now, the phone systems, we are not looking at it to get a new phone system. We're working with staff right now.
I just want to also confirm what Ms. Johnson and Ms. Johnson looking at you have said, and that is there was layers of data and very detailed data were pulled, and IT was brought in to the committee to confer. And what we found is it was not a hardware problem. We actually have a system that works for us, and even if we added more lines, that's not the problem. It's very deep and multi-layered. That would take us much too long to go into detail here, but I know that Dr. Baste Martinez and Ms. Johnson are also working on that in the evaluations committee. So we found it was a very complex issue that was no easy fix for, but it is a priority. I think I can confidently say that it is. Yeah.
May I ask a question? I'm sorry, this is my first time reading one of these reports. What is a call offered versus a total call?
The call.
Go ahead. Sorry. So the call offered, to my understanding, and if I'm interpreting it correctly, is that it's a call, I would say, complete. The calls that come in, all calls that come in, hands down, we don't answer. We don't. And so I believe that that's what the difference is.
So those are the ones that you actually that come in and you're able to have a conversation and resolve the issues. And then the third line is the ones that never get picked up.
Right.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question as well. So I think what I heard you say is that the phone system is not, you identified that the phone system is not the problem, and that we have the ability with our current phone system to offer more lines. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
So what we then would need to do, and so then the problem becomes, you can offer more lines, but you have to have people to answer those lines, and then a training issue so that people can more effectively and efficiently, the staff that we have, interact with the public and answer the lines in a quicker, more efficient way. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Do you think that it's going, do you think because we still have a fair number of unanswered calls, so do you think that this is going to affect a level of change that will be satisfactory, or will we need to have more people answering the phones?
Both. I think that we're moving toward a level of satisfaction. And part of that was ensuring that staff understood the expectations and goals that we've set. But in addition to that, I still believe that, yes, we need more staff.
More staff.
Yes, for the number of calls that come in.
Okay. Thank you.
You know, one other part of the problem that we identified, there were some staff that were under the misconception that they were to answer every problem that came in on the phone, irrespective of whether it was in their area of expertise or not. And that simply, and those calls should be referred to the appropriate division. They were not being referred there. Another factor that that should be added in or considered is the fact that as the calls come in, the staff person receiving the call is required to enter updates in Breeze. There were some delays there. Those delays are being worked on as we speak, and there will be some additional changes there. So once we get those kinks worked out, then we will be able to make an objective decision in terms of what we actually need in terms of staff. But in terms of equipment, given the options with the equipment, the cost involved, and everything else considered, the equipment that we have is appropriate. There are other factors that we're working on that will resolve the issue.
And that will be brought to the evaluation committee next month.
Thank you.
I just have a brief question, if I may. Do we have any metrics as far as being able to evaluate staff who are on phone duty?
Yes, they're very detailed. That reports were ran on each caller, how many calls, how long they were putting people on hold, how long were their Breeze notes. So like Samantha James Perez stated, it was very detailed report. And so we are working with our IT staff. And she's setting goals, expectations, like she said, and we will bring that to the next evaluation committee next month.
Okay, wonderful. And then the follow-up to that would be, is there some mechanism for customer satisfaction?
We're actually working on a customer satisfaction survey that we would have accessible in hopes of putting it on the phone line and then on the website as well, and then in the front when we have applicants actually come into the board.
And I think we've been working on this. Is there some mechanism for the callers to leave a message rather than remaining on hold?
I don't think that's in place right now, no.
Is that something we can look into with IT?
Yes,
I think that might be a good idea.
I think there's a big cost to that. And then also time spent calling back.
Right.
Our staff to call them back, it's almost the same.
Yeah, I understand that.
One of the things that we did identify is that the receptionists were on the phone, taking the call, taking the questions, and then going over to the evaluation unit, which is my staff, and asking the questions while still on hold, making the call time, go up. So we did stop that immediately once it was determined. And what they are asked to do is to take the name and phone number and then give it to the evaluator.
Okay, yeah, I understand there's a lot of pieces, but I thank you for your efforts.
Thank you, John.
And I just want to, as the chair of that evaluations committee, the staff has been incredible in accessing information so that we could better understand how the phones are handled. And you just got a little tip of the iceberg of what goes on, and also understanding that there is more to the role, or had been, to the roles of those answering the phone. And so there's some consideration that we most likely will hear about by our next meeting that may change or affect who answers phones versus who does some of the other functions, which has a potential of cutting down or affecting in positive ways the wait time.
Thank you.
I lost my place, sorry.
Turn the mic to you.
Page 4.
Turn the mic to you.
The cashiering unit. As of July 24th, 2017, the cashiering unit now has 3 permanent full-time office technicians, cashier positions filled, and 1 limited-term office technician position still vacant. The processing times in-house, and I'm just going to go over the quarter average for all payments, is 4.5 weeks. Down to the vocational nursing, the number of processed payments in-house on renewals, 185 is the quarter average. Examinations, 497. Re-examinations, 193. Interim permits, 7. Initial licensure, 81. Verifications, 122. And those are all quarter averages. And then cashiering continued. Number of processed payments online, renewals 1866 quarter average, examination 376, re-examination 307, interim permits 10, initial licensure 489, verification 87. For psychiatric technician, the number of processed payments in-house, renewals 18, examination 13, re-examination 25, and initial licensure 5. The number of processed payments online, renewals 204, examinations 18, re-examinations 10, and then initial licensure 30. Under mailroom, the board's mailroom receives a significantly large amount of mail on Mondays. The board currently has 1 full-time staff member dedicated to this function. There was a limited term person there, but that person has since promoted to a different department, and we have 1 full-time person in there. The board is requesting that that full-time limited term position be made permanent. Since the last quarter, on average, the board received 4,422 pieces of mail in the last quarter. Amount of mail received on a quarter average is 4,422 pieces. Under the support services, VN initial licensure processing. Since the last quarter, the board has successfully decreased its online initial license fee application processing time from approximately 6 weeks to approximately 1 week. The delay in in-house application processing was due to the delay in the cashiering unit, but we've since added another body in there. Under the ILF application processing times in weeks, in-house quarter average is 2.75 weeks. Online is about a half a week. Number of ILF applications approved, quarter average 447. VN re-examination processing. In January 2017, an update to the BREE system automatically generated eligibility letters once a re-examination application is approved. Previously, a staff member was responsible for generating each eligibility letter. This update has decreased the number of steps needed to complete the application and has improved processing time by half. Re-examination application processing time in weeks. In-house, a quarter average is about 6.25 weeks, and then online is about 5.25 weeks. Number of re-examination applications approved, quarter average is 575. And at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Jen.
Thank you. Any questions on that? No?
Board members have any questions?
Okay.
Thank you.
So on the continuing education CE audit, I spoke a little bit about that this morning. I just wanted to, elaborate a little bit on the update. The evaluation committee approved the letter to go out to all the licensed vocational nurses and psych techs, along with DCA Communications. I was working with Veronica Harms. She also approved the letter. So we're indicating that the CE audit project was completed and no further action was required. This letter was also posted on our website as well as our phone tree, as I stated earlier. Just to let you know, the little bit of language that DCA Communications has recommended that we added in the letter, that's why it has not been mailed out yet, was to add a little revision to add the verbiage so it's inclusive of licensees who may not have submitted any documents to eliminate confusion.
So can I ask a question, because I was confused by that. So there was was the letter sent to all the licensed vocational nurses?
Not as of yet.
It has not been sent yet?
No, it was posted on our website, and then I was working with DCA Communications to have a mail-out plan so that we don't do what was done initially when the audit letters initially went out.
Okay, so then my question would be, because it's going to go out to everyone, that's not what I meant. My question is, to those few people that were, that had not sent in their CE, so that the audit showed that they had not complied, are those people getting a letter that said it's completed and no further action is necessary? Or
We're going to have to run that report off of who were not in compliance and not send to them. So there is a mail plan that needs to go out, and that's what we're working with right
Okay,
now,
all right.
so
So I
that
just
we
want-
don't make those mistakes.
Okay.
Any other questions on the CE audit letter? Okay, we had spoke at the last board meeting regarding the military applicant, adding that to our application. We made some revisions and that those preparations were done and sent to legal a while back. So I will follow up with legal on the status of that application. So before I go over my quarter average times, I just wanted to let everybody know that the evaluators were working super hard. I've worked them. We've changed some processes. There was a significant decrease in processing times for most application types for VN and PTs that occurred this quarter that I'm reporting on, which is April, May, and June. Basically, what changed was I am now assigning work to the evaluators weekly and then able to talk to the staff that have not completed and find out where there's issues, and I'm meeting with my staff weekly, and that's done every Friday. I'll just start going over some of the numbers. So for our Voc nursing application processing times for school online, our quarterly average is 2 weeks. We were at 6 weeks the last time I reported. Schools for in-house, the average is 3.4 weeks.
Ms. Johnson, just to be totally clear, these are not schools that are applying, these are graduates that have gone through a traditional school.
Correct.
That are applying for licensure.
Absolutely, sorry.
No, graduates, yeah.
Graduates.
Graduates.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, equivalency, this is our area that needs improvement. These are the more difficult applications, and I have 3 fairly new staff members, evaluators, that are not working on these applications. So the quarter that I'm reporting on, April, May, and June, you will see those weeks are high. However, I do want to report that I am assigning these now, and our 3 new staff members are scheduled for training on these applications. And we are actually at currently 16 weeks for online. And the quarterly average is 22.8. So I'm pretty proud of that for my evaluators.
And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's a lot of steps that go into evaluating an equivalency candidate. Could you explain a little bit types of verification that have to be done?
Yeah, so they have to verify their education that is international. So there's more documentation on that. And then their work experience, they can apply, via work experience. So they have to add up to make sure that they are meeting the requirements that the board has put in place. For verifications online, we're at 3.5 weeks. Verifications in-house, 6.4 weeks. Endorsements online, 1 week. Endorsements in-house, 2 weeks. For psych techs, the schools online, the quarter average is 3.5 weeks. Schools in-house, 3 weeks. Equivalency, 10.3 weeks. Reexamination, 3 weeks. Initial licensure, 1.5 weeks. For the results desk, their processing times for VN is 3.1 week. For psych tech, it's about 1.5 week. The amount of results processed for VNs this quarter is, actually the numbers there, April, May, and June. 773 for April, 869 for May, and June 916. And the results processed for psych techs for April was 77, 68 in May, and June 44. Any questions on the processing times?
I have a question. It's not actually on the processing, but I want to go back to the equivalency portion for a minute. So when your evaluators are doing the equivalency portion for work experience, are they simply adding up the number of hours that they have?
Yes.
So they're not determining whether that was valid work experience, so they're not determining the validity of what's submitted, just what is submitted. Is that correct?
That's half correct and half inaccurate. So let me give you some clarification on that. Initially, they were just adding up the hours of the work experience, and then there was somebody at the employer that was signing. And so we had a couple incidents where the person that signed was no longer working there, and that was due to one of my evaluators, Vicki. She caught that, and she called the employer. And they did verify that that person that signed on that was not working at the time that that document was signed. We're working with enforcement on that particular case. So now what we did, we put in place that all evaluators need to call the HR employer to verify that document.
Okay, so that's going to add time too, because you have to verify validity as well as calling up the hours.
That's why the processing time is longer.
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions from board members?
Thank you. I just want to give an update on the PC donation that I spoke about this morning. Like I stated, we had 16 PCs and 4 laptops that are deemed good, and we wanted to donate. Past practice has been that they just gave back to DCA as e-waste. And so when our former executive officer was in-house, she had donated or had recommended that we use a list and donate to either schools that could utilize these PCs. So on the report, it says Natomas Unified School District. That was our second attempt to donate to a school, and they have since, the report has came out declined. So we'll move to the next school to donate. So I just want to give that clarification. That wasn't on the report. And that's it for our licensing report.
So we're at agenda item 24D, staffing update.
Staffing update. So new employees and/or promotions in the support, under licensing, in the support services section, Christopher Perlow was a newly appointed office technician in the cashiering unit. He started on July the 24th. Carly Gonzalez is actually an SSA retired annuitant, and she started just this past Monday. Under the enforcement division, the enforcement chief, Brian Vu, started on July 26th. The complaints unit, we have Kelly Williams, staff services manager 1. She started on August 2nd. Angelina Gonzalez, which is an office technician, will start on September 5th in the complaints unit. In the discipline unit, we have Jay Prouty, staff services manager 1. He started July the 13th. In the investigations unit, Nicole Navoa, which is a special investigator, exercised her right of return on July the 5th. In our vacancies, we have the assistant executive officer. The desirable qualifications have been defined, applications have been screened, qualified candidates identified, and interviews are pending. Under the licensing division, under the evaluations unit, associate government program analyst, the ledge reg analyst, we've screened applications, interviews conducted August 7th. The candidates selected, it was sent to HR for approval. Management services technician under the evaluations unit was reclassified to a staff services analyst. August 3rd, 2017, duty statement and justification approved by DCA Head Human Resources. The position posted August 8th, final filing date August 24th. Support services unit, associate government program analyst, staff service analyst, board analyst. Position reposted on August the 18th, final filing date is September the 1st. Staff services analyst / AGPA, which is the HR liaison. I actually made an offer. She starts September the 18th. Office technician, cashiering, the new position. The job posted, final filing date is July 20th, and anticipated interviews at the end of August. I also have an office services supervisor 3 position that's vacant. The package was submitted to HR to advertise for the job posting on August the 23rd. Under the enforcement division, the complaints unit has a staff service analyst. RPA package was resubmitted to DCA HR on August 4th, pending approval. Under the discipline unit, a management services technician, internal candidate selected. She started on August the 14th. Staff services analyst application screen conducted first set of interviews on August the 3rd. And in the investigations unit, we have a supervising special investigator. The selected candidate did not meet the MQs for DCA Human Resources. Vacancy re-advertised for 5 days. Final filing date was August the 8th. A special investigator posted June 27th. Anticipate interviews in the beginning of August. Oh, now we're at the end of August. Final filing date August 8th. Those interviews will be pending. Under the education division, we have a nursing education consultant limited term application screen pending interview dates. Another NEC posted July 10th. 4 applications received pending interviews. Supervising nursing education consultant limited term positions advertised on June 19th. Application screen pending interviews. Does anybody have any questions?
I have a question, Madam President. When we have a selected candidate who does not meet the minimum qualifications, is there an appeals process for that?
Yes, they go through the exam unit at DCA.
Do you know if that was done in this particular case? The supervising special investigator?
With the supervising special investigator, it was offered, but there were some other conditions that came into play.
No.
No?
No. Top of your last page.
Hmm.
Maybe Mr. Rubin. Yeah.
In the investigations unit?
The selected candidate, there were a number of candidates interviewed. The top candidate was submitted to DCA HR for approval, and that's the one they indicated did not meet the minimum qualifications. And your question, is there an appeal process? The answer is yes. When HR identifies that someone has not submitted the required document, they then forward a written request to them to submit additional information, and there is a time period. If that is complied with, then they're okay. If it's not, then we have to go back out.
Oh, okay, I see. All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Any other questions from board? Not seeing any. Thank you.
Thank you.
So that brings us to agenda item 25, the board meeting minutes. Review and possible action to adopt. So, agenda item 25A. Are we able to do all of them in one motion, or do they have to be separate for each meeting minutes?
It's better practice to do separately in case there are any changes.
Okay. So we're on 25A, the board meeting minutes from May 11 to 12. That was the board meeting. Any? Yeah, 25A.
I just had a question related to something that was in the minutes.
Okay.
And then, because it was brought up during public comment, and that was a request to look at the number of clinical hours necessary. Do we have an update? Is that going to be on a future agenda, or? It was like maybe two meetings ago?
Are you referring to the number of clinical hours required for programs?
Yes.
That's part of the information that will come out of the Education Committee's research. So that's in process right now.
Okay, so there is an
Will there
update.
be a report? The answer is yes. That's the report that you will get at the end of the year.
Okay.
Cheryl?
Yes, I have a correction for two. All right, so under B.3, I recuse myself regarding Technology Training Institute. And then I believe underneath it shows a yes vote. So that needs to be corrected from a yes to a recusal.
Which page are you on?
Page, thank you, 16 and 17. Bottom of 16 to 17.
Okay.
Okay. And then page 24, isn't just a typographical error. Cheryl Turner, it says, was the procedure. I think I said, what's the procedure, or what is the procedure?
Are you speaking at the top third of the page?
Yes. the
Was
top
the procedure
third.
for the budget to call a call center for the calls? Is that what you're looking at?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and what did you say? It should say, what was the procedure?
Or- Yes, or what
see.
is the procedure for the budget? Well, it doesn't even make sense, totally. The whole sentence doesn't quite make sense. What is the procedure for putting through a request for a budget for the call center?
I believe that's referring to the budget change proposal is what it was referring to. And the budget change proposal for the call center was denied.
No, my
Does that
question.
mean that, but that's what the response is getting to. So is that what you're saying?
No, I'm trying to correct how it's written down or transcribed. I'm not
Okay.
asking for an answer. I'm just asking for a correction how it was transcribed. I don't believe I said was the procedure for the budget. I believe I said, what is the procedure?
Okay.
To obtain a budget?
Okay.
Any other corrections?
Just an observation on page 30. You've got a blank slate of, and no indication of votes.
Okay. Okay.
We need to say something about that.
I'm sorry, are you saying, Ms. Saavedra, that at that point, the report was presented for information only? There was not a vote? Okay.
And I went back and I double checked and I triple checked,
Mhm.
just to be sure.
Then we wouldn't put.
Then you wouldn't put a
So
motion?
We would take that out.
Take the motion out. That it was for information only.
Any other corrections?
Madam President, if there are no other noted errors, omissions, or further corrections, I would move the minutes from the Thursday, May 11th board meeting.
Gerald Turner seconds.
And just a comment, I would assume that does not mean that it's exclusive of typographical errors. Those could be just corrected. Because it does not change the content.
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion? Not seeing any public comment? Not seeing any. We'll do a roll call vote. Donna? Yes. John?
Yes.
Paul?
I'll abstain.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And Alita is not here. She has left to make her flight. So the June 6th, which is agenda item 25B, the board meeting minutes from June 6th. Do board members have any corrections?
I do.
Cheryl?
Yes, on page 3, second point from the bottom,
Okay.
it begins with Miss Norton. Would you change the second to last line from 30 to 20 years, please?
Okay. Any other corrections?
It's unclear what what that means right underneath.
Oh,
Says stated the committee provides potential second avenue for board staff.
yeah.
10 years. The administrative committee will provide.
Bernice, I think that comment was related to the formation of the administrative committee, and that in our discussions, that's what you were referring to. That would be another avenue for board staff to reach the board.
Oh,
Just the wording, because anyone reading it, having not been with us, it means nothing to them.
That would be true.
And we use our minutes as a record for those who aren't necessarily with us, when they want to look back from a historical perspective, or they have questions.
Any other changes?
If there's no further corrections, I'll move the minutes from the June 6th board meeting.
I'll second that. Cheryl Turner.
Okay. Any further discussion? Seeing none. Any comment from the public? Seeing none. We'll do a roll call vote. And we'll start with Donna.
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
Myself is yes. Samantha?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And Alita is not present. And then we're on July 19th. The special board meeting on agenda item 25C. Is there any changes or errors?
If there's no errors, omissions, or corrections, I'll move the minutes from the July 19th meeting.
I'll second.
Seeing none, any discussion, further discussion from board? Seeing none, is there public comment? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Donna?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Bernice?
Yes.
I'm abstaining. Samantha?
Abstain.
Ken?
Yes.
Cheryl?
Yes.
And Ms. Alita is not present. Okay. So that brings us to agenda item 26, future meeting dates. Excuse me. So the proposed future meeting dates are for 2018 on agenda item 26A, and on 26B are the future meeting dates for 2019. Proposed is February 22, 23 in the southern portion of California, May 16, 17, and 18 in Sacramento area, August 23 and 24 in the southern area, and November 14, 15, and 16 in Sacramento area. That's for 2018. Board meeting dates and location for 2019 would be February 20, 21, 22, 3, and
Should be
We
19.
switched it.
I was questioning that myself because the
yeah. it should be-
2019, we have 11 days. I mean, when I came on the board, we had 8, now we have 10. Are we moving to 11?
No, we're trying to get some of the trainings that we need to get in and hopefully help with the closed session cases if we need to kind of have something in place.
We talked about a possible 3-day meeting in February 19, the publishing hearings for the 20th, and then 2 days of board meetings, but so that's really up to
Yeah.
The header reads 219 and the dates
Yeah,
are
it
218.
should be 19, this says 2018. So for the southern area to help alleviate, and for the petitioners down in the southern area to have an additional day for a closed session. in the southern area for the petitioners.
So I guess
So,
so for 2019, it would be 11 days?
so if we do southern 3 days, the Sacramento, we should only need 2 days.
What we had done is built in extra time because of the changes that are occurring in enforcement and anticipating that you would have additional petitioners with a longer waiting period. So that's why we built in the additional day. If it turns out we don't need it, we can certainly delete that day, but at least at this point, they're on the calendar.
No, but what I was looking at is if,
Yes, I hear you. I hear you.
so it would be May 15, 16, and 17.
Correct.
Then in Sacramento area, August 22 and 23, southern area.
Right.
November 20, 21, and 22 in Sacramento area.
Correct.
In year 2019.
Just some more information. We realize everyone, because we discussed this in exec, everyone has a very busy schedule, and we thought it might be more helpful if we put the date there with the anticipation in advance, instead of discovering in January of 2019, we need 3 days, and no one had anticipated that need. It's off, we're just trying to do what we thought might be more helpful in terms of everyone needing to plan and organize.
Yeah, it's an attempt to be more proactive. Typically, as Dr. Bass de Martinez says, you review and approve dates 1 year in advance. We're attempting to give you 2 years worth of dates, which helps you in terms of planning. It also helps us in terms of finding appropriate hotel space, meeting room space.
Any further discussion or questions?
No, just a comment. I mean, would it be possible to throw Ontario in the mix for Southern California as a possible meeting site?
We can certainly look into it. We did try Ontario the one time. The problem that we had was not with the meeting site, it was with the hotel space. So we can certainly try again to see if something has changed, but that was the problem we had before.
And Ms. Anderson, just from being in the area, I think Mr. Deerking would agree that there's been some new construction down there. So there may be expanded hotel space now.
So for the next southern one, we want to try to do.
Let us take a look.
Yes, it just says southern.
Yeah, let us take a look.
Okay.
I move to accept the 2018 and 2019.
I second that.
Can't take action on it,
Or not.
Wait, what?
Huh?
it's not agendized right now.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so what are you saying? We can't vote on these, so we can't go find spaces for these meetings?
You can't take action on it, it's not listed as possible action, it's informational.
Okay, all right, then can we say that we will bring these dates back in November for a final vote and go ahead and begin to? Okay.
Okay, so
Want to give us a little overview so we understand?
The way the item was agendized did not indicate that action would be taken, so therefore the board cannot take action on this item. It was presented for informational purposes, and it can be taken up at the next board meeting for action after it's been agendized.
But that does not preclude us from finding a location for that. Okay.
Thank you.
So on, So, it has to state on there that it's for review and possible action when it's agendized?
Correct.
Okay. Oh, that's good information. I didn't know that. Thank you. So we will take this up at the next board meeting.
Right, we won't lose anything.
So now we're at agenda item 27, public comment. Not on the agenda, individuals may appear before the board at this time to discuss items not on the agenda. The board may not discuss or take any action on any items raised during this public comment section, except to decide whether to place it on the agenda of a future meeting. Government Code Sections 11125 and 11125.7A. Any comments from public? Seeing none, we'll move on to agenda item 28. Suggestions, suggestions for future agenda items. Individual may request future agenda items at this time. The board may not discuss or take action on any matter except to decide whether to place the matter on the agenda for a future meeting. Government Code Sections 11125 and 11125.7A.
Madam President, in the minutes from one of the from one of the previous meetings, a request was made that each board member wished to have a list of items that we've compiled as future agenda items. The thinking was we might have addressed some, and then at the same time, we don't want to overlook others.
Okay. So what the request is to have a list of items compiled for future, a list of requests that were compiled that were requested for future agenda items.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
Okay. And this is to see if we have put them on or to follow up on them.
It helps us know what we've covered and what we might wish to cover. Some might not even be relevant at this time.
Okay. And Cheryl, can we do that? And we can place that on the next board meeting in November?
Yes.
So we can expect to see that at the next board meeting in November. Any other comments about future agenda items from board members or the public? Seeing none, that brings us to agenda item 27, or 29. I'm still off on my numbering. Agenda item number 29.
Motion to adjourn.
We are. I move to adjourn the board meeting.
A second, if you need a second.
So we are adjourned.
Wow.
Thank you.